Imagine this, it's harvest season in Napa Valley, the air thick with the sweet rot of ripening grapes. I'm standing there in the dirt, my boots caked in mud, watching my own brother, drunk on cheap champagne and Instagram likes, stumble out of the guest house he turned into his personal frat house. His eyes bulge as I hand him the eviction notice. Get off my land, I say, my voice steady as the vines behind me. Or I'll bury you in court with every toxic test tube I've got. He laughs at first, that smug influencer cackle. But 3 months later? He's packing his designer luggage while my wine bottles, named for the aunt he betrayed, fly off shelves worldwide. This is the story of how I reclaimed my roots, and made him choke on the dirt he sowed. If you've ever felt that gut-wrenching sting of family turning their back, watching someone flashier steal what you poured your soul into, stick around. This one's for you. Smash that like button if justice gets your blood pumping, subscribe for more Reddit revenge tales that hit like a perfectly aged Cabernet, and let's dive in. You won't believe how sweet payback tastes. My name's Isabella Rossi, and for as long as I can remember, wine wasn't just a drink in our family, it was blood. Thick, earthy, running through veins twisted like old vine roots. Our aunt, Isabella Rossi, built the Rossi vineyard from nothing but a patch of stubborn soil in Napa Valley back in the 70s. She was a force, calloused hands from pruning at dawn, a laugh that echoed like popping corks, and eyes that saw stories in every grape cluster. Wine's not about the flash, Elena, she'd say, her voice gravelly from years of shouting orders over harvesters. It's about the quiet fight in the ground. The roots that hold when the storms hit. I was her shadow. From age 10, I'd trail her through the rows, my small fingers learning to test the soil's pH, feeling the cool, loamy promise under my nails. By 20, I was elbow-deep in sustainable practices, cover crops to fight erosion, dry farming to honor the land's limits, no chemical shortcuts. Isabella saw it in me. You're the one, kid, she'd whisper during late-night tastings, her wrinkled hand on mine. The keeper of the roots. But my brother? Marco. God, where to start with him? He was the golden boy, the one who burst into every room like a firework, loud, bright, gone in a flash. 5 years older, with that chiseled jaw and easy grin that made strangers hand him free drinks. While I buried myself in agronomy books, Marco chased the spotlight, dropped out of college for content creation, turned our family garage into a TikTok studio, racking up followers with shirtless vineyard tours that had nothing to do with wine. Babe, this isn't about grapes, he'd smirk, filming himself chugging rose at sunset. It's about the vibe. Isabella tolerated him, but I could see the flicker in her eyes, the disappointment when he'd breeze in for holidays, hungover and empty-handed, turning her sacred cellar into a photo op family's equity. Aunt Izzy, he'd say, clapping her on the back too hard. We all own a piece. She'd smile tightly, but later, over herbal tea in her kitchen, she'd confide in me, he's vines without depth, Elena. All show, no soil. We grew up in the shadow of those hills, but our paths forked early. I stayed local, apprenticing under Isabella, turning down city jobs for the rhythm of the seasons. Marco? He jetted off to LA, networking with influencers, crashing back home when his crypto schemes tanked. And slowly, inevitably, the vineyard became his playground. Isabella was too proud to beg him to stop, but she'd vent to me, the unauthorized raves in the barrel room, the influencers trampling young shoots for aesthetic pics, the chemical sprays he insisted on, faster yields, Aunt Izzy. That left the soil brittle and angry. I felt it every time I visited. That twist in my gut, like swallowing unfiltered dregs. I'd kneel in the dirt, scooping samples into vials, my heart pounding as I traced the erosion scars from his shortcuts. This isn't right, I'd mutter to the wind, my fingers trembling. Why fight? Because it was hers, our blood. And because Marco's chaos wasn't just litter, it was erasure. He'd sidelined me, too, dismissing my quiet suggestions at family dinners with a wave. Elena, you're too serious. Lighten up. This place needs fun, not your eco-nerd lectures. The call came on a rainy Tuesday in April, 3 years ago. I was in my tiny apartment above a co-op winery, elbow deep in a fermentation tank, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Ms. Rossi? This is Harlan from Harlan and Pierce Estates. Your aunt, Isabella, passed last night. Heart attack in the vineyard. She left instructions. The world tilted. I dropped the hose, cold water splashing my jeans, but I didn't feel it. My chest caved, a hollow ache spreading like frost on glass. Isabella, gone. The woman who'd bandaged my scraped knees and taught me to listen to the land's whispers. I drove through sheets of rain, wipers slapping like accusations, my mind replaying her last words from Christmas, "Take care of it, Elena. Promise me." The reading was in her lawyer's oak-paneled office, the air heavy with leather and old paper. Marco slouched in, late as always, in aviators and a silk shirt unbuttoned to his navel, scrolling his phone. Mom and Dad sat rigid, Dad's knuckles white on his cane. Harlan cleared his throat, spectacles glinting. Isabella's will is straightforward. The vineyard, 120 acres, cellars, equipment, goes to Elena Rossi, in full. Marco's head snapped up. What? Full? That's bullshit. Family equity, man. I grew up there too. Harlan's voice stayed even, like pouring a steady vintage. She was explicit. Elena's the executor and sole heir. Contingent on maintaining sustainable practices as outlined in the addendum. I sat frozen, the words blooming warm in my chest, a validation I'd craved since childhood. But Marco's face twisted, that easy grin curdling into something feral. He leaned forward, slamming his phone down. Addendum? What the hell does that mean? Aunt Izzy wouldn't cut me out like this. Elena's been mooching off her forever, playing dirt fairy while I built the brand. Brand? My voice cracked, small but sharp. Heat flushed my neck, fists clenching under the table. I'd bitten my tongue for years, but this? In front of our parents, reducing my life's work to mooching? Mom shifted uncomfortably. Marco, honey, it's her wishes. He ignored her, jabbing a finger at me. You think you're the wine whisperer? This place was dying before I spiced it up. Parties brought in tourists, real money. You gonna compost it into oblivion? Harlan slid the will across, thick vellum, Isabella's looping script. I traced her signature, throat tight. It's done, Marco. She's gone. Respect that. He stormed out, the door banging like a slammed cork. Driving home, rain blurring the taillights, doubt crept in. Could I do this? The vineyard was a beast, debts from his upgrades, vines stressed from neglect. And Marco? He'd never let go easy. The first weeks blurred into a haze of grief and grit. I moved into the main house, Isabella's quilt still smelling of lavender and earth. Mornings, I'd wake to fog rolling over the hills, her absence a weight on my chest, like vines stripped bare. I'd wander the rows, whispering to the grapes as if she'd answer. What now? The soil tests I ran confirmed my fears, pH skewed from his chemical dumps, heavy metals leaching in, yields down 40%. My hands shook as I logged it, tears mixing with the ink. Betrayed, not just by him, but by the land itself, poisoned under our watch. Marco didn't waste time. 2 months in, a process server showed at dawn, pounding the door like thunder. Rossi versus Rossi, contest of will. I stared at the papers, heart hammering, the words undue influence blurring. Undue? Me? The quiet one? He'd lawyered up with some flashy firm, the kind that reps celebs. His Instagram exploded, sob stories from the vineyard, family torn apart by greed. Hashtag justice for Marco. Influencers piled on, teary reels in my aunt's old kitchen, hashtags like hashtag save Rossi Ranch. Comments flooded, sis sounds like a control freak. Share the wealth. My phone buzzed non-stop, strangers dissecting my life. I hurled it across the room, glass shattering against the stone wall. Powerless. That's what it felt like, a small, exposed, like a root yanked from the dark. Nights, I'd pace the cellar, the damp chill seeping into my bones, replaying his lawsuit filing. Family equity, he'd claimed in court docs. Equal shares, as per verbal promises. Lies. Isabella had hated his parties, the thumping bass shaking the barrels, cigarette butts ground into the crush pad. But the judge, some old Napa hand, set a hearing for fall. Prove the intent, he drawled. Or it's split. Split? The word clawed at me. I'd pour a glass of her last vintage, the tannins biting my tongue, and stare at the addendum Harlan mentioned. I'd skimmed it before, vague clauses about stewardship aligned with Rossi legacy. But desperation breeds clarity. One storm-lashed night, lightning cracking the sky, I pored over it by lantern light. There, buried in legalese, heir must commit to regenerative agriculture, no synthetic inputs, biodiversity metrics tracked annually. Breach forfeits to conservation trust. My pulse thrummed. Isabella's trapdoor. She'd known Marco's shortcuts would doom him. But proof? I needed ironclad. That's when the fire ignited. Resolve hit like dawn-breaking fog, sharp, unyielding. No more sidelined shadow. I'd fight with what I knew, the land itself. First, the tests. I hired a lab, trudging through rows with corers, my boots sucking in mud, sweat stinging my eyes under the relentless sun. Samples from his enhanced plots versus mine, his soil compacted, microbial life gutted, toxins spiking. Reports piled up, pages of data screaming neglect. Catastrophic degradation, the lead scientist emailed. I printed them, stacking like ammunition, my fingers steady now, callous as a badge. But data alone? Dry as dust. Marco's narrative was viral poison. I needed mine. Enter the docuseries. I'd toyed with the idea for years, a quiet chronicle of revival. Now? Weapon. I scraped together savings, called in favors from fellow winemakers. Roots Reclaimed, I titled it. Episode 1, me, dawnlit, kneeling in the scarred earth. This isn't just dirt, I said to the camera, voice raw. It's legacy. Betrayed by shortcuts, but resilient. Cut to archival footage, Isabella's grainy videos, her hands mirroring mine. Then, the gut punch, Marco's party clips, pilfered from his own feeds, glitter-strewn vines, bass-rattling trellises, guests vomiting in the crush pad. We filmed relentlessly. Sweat-soaked days pruning deadwood, my arms aching, thorns drawing blood that dotted the lens like tears. Nights editing in the kitchen, coffee bitter on my tongue, doubts whispering, who'll watch? You're no influencer. But the land fueled me, the first green shoots pushing through amended soil, birds returning to the cover crops. Episode 2, interviews with locals, their voices thick with outrage. Marco's crew ruined the creek, fish floating belly up. My heart swelled, validation seeping in like first rain. I uploaded to YouTube, a gamble in the dark. Views trickled, 50, then 500. Then, boom. A wine blogger shared. Hashtag exploded, hashtag roots reclaimed. By week 3, 500,000. Comments poured, finally, someone fights for the soul of wine. Marco's a clown, evict his ass. Sponsors nibbled, organic co-ops, eco-brands. Revenue trickled, enough for a publicist. Harlan called, leverage it in court. Show her vision lives. Marco ramped up, of course. His posts turned vicious, jealous little sis faking drama for clicks. Vineyards mine by blood. He hosted a solidarity bash, streamed live, bottles of our wine popped like confetti. I watched from the porch, rain pattering on tin, fury coiling in my belly like overripe fruit ready to burst. Blood? My nails dug crescents into palms. You poisoned it. The hearing loomed like harvest thunder. I prepped in the cellar, Harlan coaching, stick to facts. Let the will speak. But inside, storms raged, fear of losing her gift, rage at his entitlement. Dress rehearsal, me in a simple linen shift, hair pulled back, practicing in the mirror. This land demands respect, I'd say, voice steadying. Not parties. Harvest hit early that year, sweltering, the air humming with ripeness. Crews swarmed, pickers' laughter mixing with shears snip, baskets brimming purple. Marco showed, uninvited, strutting in with his entourage, cameras rolling, him in a fedora, toasting my legacy. Smile for the gram, Elena. Family reunion. I met his gaze over the crush pad, grapes squelching underfoot, juice staining my apron like war paint. This isn't your stage anymore. My words hung, low and final. His crew tittered, but his eyes narrowed, predator-scenting threat. That night, post-upload of episode 5, The Poisoned Roots' views surged to 2 million. The clip of his party, synced to ominous cello, went nuclear. Backlash hit, brands dropped him, followers unfollowed in droves. Toxic King, they called him. He texted at 2 a.m., you bitch. This war? War, I thought, staring at the glow-in-the-dark screen, chest tight. You've been waging it alone. Dawn broke, and I drove to Harlan's, addendum and tests in a leather folio, my resolve a shield. Court day, the Napa courthouse, all wood and echoes, smelled of polished oak and old verdicts. Marco preened at the plaintiff's table, suit too tight, lawyer a shark in pinstripes. I slipped in back, heart galloping, palms slick. The judge entered, gavel cracking like splitting wood. Marco's case first, whiny testimony, crocodile tears. Aunt Izzy promised equity. Elena manipulated her, lonely old lady. His lawyer waved evidence, screenshots of my aggressive posts. The gallery murmured, a juror rolled eyes. My turn. I rose, legs leaden, approaching the stand. Oath sworn, Harlan's nod my anchor. Your Honor, this isn't about greed. It's about Isabella's heart, beating in the land. I unfolded the will, voice gaining strength. Clauses tie inheritance to sustainability. Marco's practices? Here's the proof. I slid reports across, graphs spiking red, photos of barren plots. Gasps rippled. His lawyer objected, irrelevant. But the judge leaned in, brow furrowed. Proceed. Then, the docuseries. Harlan cued the montage on a projector, Isabella's voiceover, my hands reviving soil, Marco's chaos in stark contrast. The room hushed as her words filled the air, roots hold when flash fades. Tears pricked my eyes, I blinked them back, chin high. Marco shifted, jaw clenched, that easy grin gone, replaced by a twitch, like a vine-sensing blight. Cross-exam, his shark prowled. Ms. Rossi, you profited from this series. Extortion? I met his gaze, steady as rootstock. No. Truth. The land's crying out, listen. The judge nodded, almost imperceptibly. Recess dragged eternal, coffee bitter, stomach churning. Whispers in the hall, she's got him. Marco cornered me by the vending machine, breath hot with mint overkill. You think this wins? I'll drag this out, bankrupt you. His words landed like gravel in a crusher, grinding. But I straightened, the weight of 2 million views on my side. Drag all you want. The roots are deeper than your tan. Verdict next morning, gavel fell. Will upheld. Sanctions for frivolous claim, $50K to Ms. Rossi. Marco's face drained white, then flushed crimson, veins bulging in his neck. He exploded from his seat, this is rigged. As deputies ushered him out, his curses echoing. But I wasn't done. Harlan had filed countersuit, trespass, damages from his parties. Soil tests as exhibits, $200K in restoration. The eviction? Filed same day, served at dawn. Harvest peak, air electric with yeast and promise, crews singing in Spanish as they haul the last loads. I'd bottled the first run that morning, deep garnet liquid, labeled in gold-embossed script, Roots Reclaimed. In memory of Isabella Rossi. Sustainable Soul, 2025 vintage. Holding the bottle, cool glass against my palm, I felt her triumph bubbling like the wine itself. That's when the server arrived, papers crisp in the golden light. Marco, bleary from whatever after-party, answered the guest house door in boxers and a robe, hair a rooster's comb. His crew, 2 influencers nursing hangovers, filmed it all, thinking it'd be drama gold. Elena Rossi demands you vacate within 24 hours, the server intoned, handing the notice. For cause, breach of lease, environmental damages pending trial. Marco snatched it, eyes scanning, then widening like overfilled barrels. Evict? You can't, this is my. You're what? I stepped from the shadows of the arbor, arms crossed, the eviction duplicate in hand. Crew paused, baskets mid-swing, eyes on us. Your playground? Your backdrop? No, Marco. It's mine. Isabella's clauses? Ironclad. Your toxins? Evidentiary gold. And the judge? He saw your equity for the scam it was. He crumpled the paper, face twisting, shock melting to fury, that influencer mask cracking. You leaked those clips. Sabotaged my brand. Brand? I laughed, low and freeing, the sound surprising even me. You branded it with lies. I reclaimed it with truth. I held up a phone, live stream from the docuseries channel, comments scrolling, get him out. Hashtag Roots Reclaim Justice. Views, 5 million. His entourage gasped, one whispering, dude, your follows are tanking. Marco lunged forward, finger jabbing inches from my face, breath ragged. I'll sue you into the ground. You'll regret. Regret? My voice rose, steady thunder, the crew falling silent. Vines rustled approval. I regret every year I let you sideline me. Every party you threw while the soil screamed. Every family dinner where you laughed off my warnings. Heat flushed my cheeks, but power surged of validation, hot and heady. Pack your toys. Harvest's mine. And when this vintage hits shelves? It'll taste like karma. He deflated, shoulders slumping, eyes darting to his phone, buzzing with unfollows. No quip, no grin. Just a broken mutter, this isn't over. But as deputies arrived an hour later, sirens a distant whine, it was. He slunk out, designer bags dragged through gravel, his crew peeling off in Ubers, live streaming his humiliation. I stood on the porch, bottle in hand, uncorking it with a pop that echoed like vindication. First sip, tart, full-bodied, Roots reborn. Tears came then, hot tracks down dust-streaked cheeks, not pain, but release. Triumph. The land sighed with me. In the end, justice isn't always a courtroom bang, sometimes it's the quiet pop of a cork, the slow reclaiming of what's yours. Isabella knew, roots endure. And karma? It ferments sweeter with time. What legacy are you fighting for? Phew, if that didn't give you goosebumps and a thirst for your own comeback, I don't know what will. Smash that like if Elena's win had you cheering, drop in the comments, what's the sweetest revenge you've pulled off or witnessed? And hey, subscribe, turn on notifications, more Reddit rages and redemptions dropping weekly. Thanks for watching, here's to Roots Reclaimed. Cheers.